And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What's going on, Robert?
It is another beautiful day. I just sound like crap.
Yeah, it's that time of year, right? I've decided to start repeating the allergy shots so that I can hopefully never have, well, not never have, because you know how that goes. Not have as many sinus infections, because that's the story of my life, it feels like.
Man, my runs are, as you can hear, I don't use my voice until I get on this. I should actually probably use my voice a little bit before I get on this. But yeah, you can hear the allergies in my voice. Ugh.
Clean it up a little bit.
That's it. Get the gravel out.
Get the gravel out. Yeah, so it's been an interesting. I know we don't talk a whole lot of political stuff, but I mean, it's funny. I was listening. I don't know if you saw the latest thing where they're trading barbs now. We're getting close, right?
So they're saying nice things to each other.
Yeah. Did you hear that yesterday Biden called all Trump supporters garbage?
Good. 50, right? And I'm
We
assuming
are
we're
in
on
the book.
gratitude.
We are on chapter, not celebration. So we're almost to the
35.
we're almost to the end. So gratitude. Yep.
Man, this is a good place, right?
Yep.
This is an awesome place to, especially when everybody's fighting and partisan and all that. There's a time for us to all just be flat grateful we're here and be grateful for what we have. The surprises that life bring us.
Yeah.
And this was written in the Christmas of 2002, and my kids were all somewhere else, and I was pretty much alone during Christmas, and it was really a very cool time to reflect and think about what 22 had meant, what 23 would mean. But it was, I love the David Hume quote. He called gratitude a calm passion. Before, but intentional state, right? To be grateful for something, truly grateful. And I think probably we pass over a lot of that with like, thank you, right? But that's not real true gratitude. That's expressing gratitude.
Right.
True gratitude is sitting there and kind of being filled with this joy of, wow, really, really lucky. I know gratitude a couple of times because I've survived near-death experiences, right?
Yep.
And when I hit the ground, I was truly grateful that for whatever reason I had survived that day. And I think that's probably what we're being called to do, is be more intentional about our gratitude, be more intentional about our kindness too, right? That's been a big issue lately. Is there, we can disagree without being disagreeable, right?
Yep.
Be grateful for a country where you can actually engage in debate, and you don't have to call people, whatever I think you said garbage. I don't think that's necessary.
It's not. That's what's so weird about it. It's like the gratitude thing. Like I as I think about it for personally, what it means to me, it's like it's amazing how we get lost in that. Like because of those types of things, like we don't see all the good that is going on because we just see the one bad thing, and we have to. I don't know. It's tough. Like I have a lot of things to be grateful in my life, and we have that. Dave Conry, a guy that I used to follow here on TikTok, and he's not on here as much anymore, talked about this hater math, because there is this hater math that is kind of like a weird equation. But the reality is if you put weight on hate and weight on gratitude, for this instance, like the good versus the bad, we make the bad way, way more than the good, because one bad thing happens, it destroys all the the hundreds of good things that have happened, because it weighs more. 1 pound of hate, you get 1 ounce of love. It's just weird.
Well, it's really interesting you mentioned that. And I know we're supposed to be over talking about the chapter, but that's such a good segue, right?
Yeah.
Because I ran an advertising agency for a couple of years, a decade or so ago. And when social media was just coming out and we were looking at how restaurants get recommendations, I had clients all over the place. And we knew the math. The hater math was this, 10 attaboys were wiped out by one "oh shit,"
Yep.
right? So if one person got on there, and incidentally, most people are more likely to do a review out
When
of
they're,
anger than they
yeah.
are, yeah. So here you are, and all of a sudden, because I got noticed back on all my client accounts when they would get posted on, right?
Yep.
And you'd see somebody saying something awful like, I didn't get this or that or the other with my online order, and right. And I have to spring into action to see if I can make the client happy.
Right.
And I'm not the restaurant, I'm the PR person.
Yeah.
But you don't want, it's okay to have a negative review up there as long
Right.
as the response from the party involved, whether it be a restaurant or whatever, the response is good. Listen, I'm sorry you had a bad experience. Let me comp that. Let me do this. Let me do that. And then have them respond back on the same thread. Man, they came real quick when I complained. They took care of me. That's what we wanted, right?
Right.
Because that math, the hater math is just, it is.
Yeah, and you don't get that that's the sad thing is like you don't get that very often. Like people are really quick to just, go hard at you, but then when they realize that they're wrong, that's the other thing is that integrity that when you are wrong to be able to own that you're wrong. Like we don't have that anymore. You could have it's easy to lean on the political thing because that's the way it is. But like when these people find out that they're wrong or that no matter what side you're on, when you find out that you're wrong, a lot of times they're not going to go back on what they feel like or what they feel. It's not going to change the way that they think. They're just going to keep owning that. Or, it's like when you get called out on something and you realize, how often do you go, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That was me. And I didn't get that right. It's more like, well, whatever.
There was a situation with my significant other yesterday, and it was something I was trying to do nice, but by doing something nice, I had not done what I said because I was trying to do something nice.
Right.
And so she looked at it and said, well, you didn't do what you said. I said, well, do you understand what I was trying to do? Oh, yeah, I understand what you were trying to do. You're trying to do something extra special. But I just, and the point was I had to say, listen, I'm sorry. I didn't do exactly what I said, but you see where my heart was.
Right.
I was trying to do something 3 times better. And she said, no, I do. But that's that one of saying, you know what, you're right. I should have done exactly what I said. And she goes, and yes, I understand exactly why you were doing something else because you were trying to do something really, really special for me. So the point of it was about the thought that counted, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for her because she's such a good reflection. And when I say grateful, I'm being serious, as in the intentional grateful, being serious for that you have somebody that can reflect back into your life, right? That you trust also, that isn't trying to put you down, isn't trying to do anything else but, make the relationship better.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things we're afraid of, like you said, to come out and say, man, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, because you put yourself in this camp where you're going to just fight for everything that you have, and then when you realize that what you're fighting for is not worth it or is not the right thing, you have to. It's like you have to let go of a part of yourself. I mean, I was thinking about it the moment that you started talking about this conversation. The first thing I wrote down is I'm sorry, because with kids, and I'm sure you know this, a lot of times, like with my daughter. Yesterday I kind of went off on her because she took forever to get ready and she does it every single day. And it's like, this is just a kid thing, but she tells me I'm sorry. And I'm like, if you are sorry, because this isn't the first time, obviously, I'm not going to just start yelling at my dad. He doesn't get breakfast. I didn't feed him breakfast because I didn't have time. Like there's all these things that can go. And she says, I'm sorry. But then she does it again. And it's like, I try to make her understand that saying I'm sorry means that you're going to try and do better the next time, but it's really hard with kids because they just don't understand that. We teach them to say please and thank you, but we don't really teach them why,
Yeah.
And that's the powerful. Same thing with I'm sorry. Yeah. Why are you sorry?
Right. It's the why is such a big deal. And you hit the nail on the head there. Is why when we say we're grateful, why? Are you really grateful? Are you're literally sitting in that moment going, wow, okay. So, for example, being grateful to be on this podcast, right? being grateful to be able to have a place to come and talk and know that it gets out to the world in one shape or the other. Are you really truly grateful, or are you just, again, saying things like when you say to somebody, "Hey, let's grab lunch."
Yeah.
Do you really want to grab lunch, or are you just being kind?
Yeah.
Right.
I have this
And
great.
is that really kind?
It's funny because I think about that. Like I have this great relationship with a couple realtors that I work with, and I actually want to go sit down with them. There are people who are infectious. There are people who you crave the interaction because it's just they make you feel so much better. And it's a little selfish, right? Because maybe they don't get the same thing from you, but being around those people just make you feel good. And you being around someone who's negative all the time, like I'm around a lot of people who are that way. Makes you feel negative, right? And then being around those positive people make you feel positive. This conversation is something that like I can sit there and reflect on. Hey, we talked about this morning. We talked about that this morning. Like these are things that are bringing me up. So it's just as much for me as it is for you. It's a great thing to find those people.
Really huge family, right? I'm an
Right.
only child.
Mhm.
And yet underneath me, the next generation is huge. 4 kids, 5 grandkids, one on the way. And, this probably will get significantly larger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so am I really grateful? Am I truly sitting in that place where you go, wow, what a very, and we're getting close to the end of the year too. And we're really, really obsessed at the moment with this election
hmm
because supposedly people are going to feel some sort of way.
Right.
And I don't mean to be negative to anybody, but I just want you to think about something. We've had a version of President Biden, Kamala, in already. And though we didn't necessarily like the results, the world did not come to an end.
Right.
We've had President Trump before. And though we may not be totally happy with the results under his administration, we go, the world did not come to an end.
Yeah.
Right? So these are 2 kind of known quantities. Think about that for a second. And whether you feel one way or not, but the world did not come to an end, despite what we're being told. Right?
It's funny because I was talking to a friend about this the other day too. It's the same thing. It's like I was telling him, he's like, "Well, how's it going? Are you busy? What's like with my job, my daytime job of selling window covers? He's like, how's it going?" And it's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I feel like it might be the election, it might be the economy, but it is a little bit slower. People are doing this, people are doing that. Like
Right.
the way that they buy has changed, and I've been doing this for 5 years. I haven't really had I didn't really pay attention probably when the first election that I was working at, in sales was going on when, it was Biden and Trump. Like I probably wasn't paying too attention. We had the pandemic going on. There was it was a different situation than this situation right now. And he goes, I've been doing this long enough that I know, because he's been in it. He's been through a couple election cycles where he's kind of seen he goes, it doesn't really change. People don't understand that. When they really think about it, the economy is going to go one way or another. That's all there is to it. But has there ever been over history a downturn after an election? It's like what happens typically is, and I haven't looked into the numbers, but he's like, and he does a lot of history stuff, and maybe you know more about this than I do. But if you think back through the last elections that I've been alive, there hasn't really been one that happened right after an election. People are very nervous right now about what's going to happen, which in reality, like you said, the world is not going to end. It's not going to be the end of the world no matter what happens. Things may happen after that, but we're not going to go into a Great Depression if Donald Trump or Kamala Harris become president. That's not what's going to happen. Life is going to go on. People are going to take a breath of fresh air because now they know, but the unknown is what's making people nervous. They're unknown what's going to happen next week, right?
And I think they push the narrative that says if the other person wins, it will be horrible beyond belief. But that's not true. And that's just to try and to drive a dichotomy between, everybody's going to go to work the next day. This is not Pearl Harbor.
Right.
Okay? This is not those kind of situations that are radically change your life. I've been through some radical changes, and I love this comment. Melanie Beadle made this comment. She said, "Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today and creates a vision for tomorrow.
Yep.
That's really, really interesting because when you're grateful, you're really not looking at tomorrow going, oh, look how bad it's going to be. You're like, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. Not great, but it'll be okay.
Yeah, you've got to find that. I think that that's the hardest part for people to understand, that like when you're in the shit, when you're wallowing in the shit, it's really hard to see the clear water. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's like, it's tough. It's tough to find that when you can't look where you need to look. And I think that that's where it's funny, because I get that way too. Like we've talked about this, like we all get that way. We have this negative headspace. You were talking a couple months ago, like, well, what am I going to do now? Like, where am I at now? Like this is over and now it's this. And like, I'm not fulfilled. But you have to sit back and think of all the things that I've been in multiple positions at work where I've got this and I've got that, and I don't like this and I don't like that. But then I sit back and I think, and I'm like, okay, if this was so bad, as bad as I'm making it in my head, I wouldn't have the things that I have, And so you have to really think about what you gain from it. And it doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing, or do things the same way as someone else. It's also a gift that you saw a way that you didn't want to do it, right? Because now you know what way not to do something, whatever it is,
And that is, and the failure is in and of itself a gift, right?
Yeah.
If you just, because people are like, oh no, I failed. Well, so yesterday I got some good news. First thing in the morning, I'm getting published as an academic for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the Journal of Communications out of the USC. I believe the Annenberg Center is the one that publishes it. And this is my first time being published as an academic. I've got a couple things out, but this is the first notice. So I had to go through a few little edits, right? Little stupid stuff that I should have caught myself.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I fixed them and got them over to him. And so it was really kind of one of those monumental days, because as an academic, right, I've been published, obviously, but not as an academic. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. And, I let the day get ahead of me. And I really never got a chance to sit in being grateful for that event and going, this day I will remember for the rest of my life, because this is the top of my CV now as an academic, published work. This is number one. So that's really kind of a cool place. But again, we get lost in the everydayness, the grind.
The stress of all that. Like, oh, I made this, like I forgot to put this period in this spot, or I double spaced that in between the end and blah, blah, blah. Like all these stupid little things. But then in the end, you're like, if it wasn't for this opportunity, I wouldn't be in this position. I wouldn't have to go fix that. It's crazy. If you really can change, it's a mindset thing, right? It's that growth mindset where it's like the thinking has to change. And once you change it, like my thought process for like the 5 year or before 5 years ago was completely different than it is now. And that is something that I can be grateful for, the situations that I've been put in. And you just have to look at that. It's like, I would have never met you. I would have never met, Nikki on here. I would have never met AJ. All these people that I know that have molded me over the last 5 years. You got to be grateful for those people, because you would have never, if you would have never tried to put yourself in that situation, you never would have had what you had.
Absolutely. And also, too, I'm reaching a threshold where there may be some social media platforms in the new year that I don't continue with, right? Because they're not adding any value to my life. Right. And there comes a point in time where I look at them and I say, okay, I'm on this every day. And it's not that I'm saying it's about money. That's not the point. But it is the point of, why am I on them? Am I on them just to be on them, or am I on them because they generate some internal gratification for me? I don't know. So I have to kind of sort that out, because I do spend, and I don't spend what they say that we spend some ungodly amount of time on social media. Well, that's not true for me. I probably spend less than 30 minutes a day on it. And if you count this podcast as being on social media, well, then that's more.
Yeah.
but I don't spend that much time on it.
Yep.
Again, it's not because it's not fulfilling. It goes back to the original issue of why. Why are you on it?
Yeah.
But I did remember that, a friend posted, she said, I love your beard. And I thought I was talking to my lady, and I said, do you know that I've seen her through her divorce? Right? So I've been on this platform, in case TikTok, for well over 3 years. So I've
Yeah.
actually seen people get married. I've seen people divorce. I've seen people have kids, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. And you're just like, okay, you need to stop, meaning speaking to myself, you need to stop and be grateful for that. That's very cool.
How's it going, Carl? Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, as you say that, I reflect back on some of the people that, we've lost a few people. A lot of people that were there for, from the get go for me. Like I think I've probably lost 2 or 3 people, and I'm just like, I'm shocked at the fact that they're gone. Lynette Nicholson is gone. She was a really good follower of mine, really good friend of mine. Bought some clothes for me. Was really into like Shaping Success and really enjoyed it. And Michelle as well, Jersey Girl. It was kind of the same thing. Like we just lost these people, and you're just sitting there going, how could this happen? Like how could it just like without even? But it's life, right?
Yeah.
It's terrible that life. It's not. I don't know. You got 2 ways of looking at it, right? Is it a terrible thing that they passed away, or is it a good thing that they passed away and they're moving on and they can continue going? Like, you be grateful for every, and that's the thing. It's like, how did you feel about that too? Are you grateful for every moment that you have? Because if you're not, when you do pass away, are you going to go, wherever you go, feeling that you did enough? Are you going to be, I love like David Goggins talks about this. He's like, I've got to this point in my life, and David Goggins, if you guys don't know him, he's a crazy, not crazy. He'd probably tell you he's crazy, but he's very about pushing himself to the very limit that he can, because he doesn't want to go to heaven knowing that he's going to be judged. And, God says, well, what if you would have done this? Or did you do this? Or did you do that? And that's kind of the thing. Don't die in the chair. Don't die sitting down doing something that you cannot do. And it doesn't matter if you believe in God or not, but in your life, do you want to pass on from this life knowing that you did not push yourself to the very limit that you were capable of because you were scared, because you lived in fear of the fact that you couldn't accomplish it or you may fail? Is that what you want? It's not what I want.
The story that I always reflect upon is the one that says that you go to heaven, right? And you walk past, this tree, right? This Christmas tree, and there's 100 packages underneath. They're beautifully wrapped. They're incredible.
Thank you, Carl.
And as you get there, St. Peter says, he looks at the tree and he says, aren't they beautiful, the packages? Yes, yes. St. Peter says, and incidentally, those are all the gifts we had prepared for you that you didn't open. And I said, what do you mean didn't open? Yeah, they were the gifts ready for you if you would have reached out for them.
Yep.
But because you chose not to, they remain wrapped. This is all the things you could have had you tried harder, had you pushed, had you went past that. And, that's the thing you want to say at the end of your life. And, I'm closer, quote unquote, to the end of my life. I'm not at midlife anymore. And I'm pushing. I'm still pushing. Why? Because this is the only way I know how to be. And I can tell you that you're not going to think your 60s are a lot of fun when you're into your body.
Right.
You're going to be going, okay, this kind of sucks.
You can feel it coming. I can tell you that.
You, man.
I mean, you're about 20 years older than me, and I'm telling you, like, it's you think about how you felt when you were 40, and I'm the same way. It's like I'm sitting here thinking, man, boy, my knees feel different today. My hips feel different today. Like your body just, it's there.
Yeah, yeah, but then I am so grateful to be able to get up in the morning, and I had a good run today, I had a good time. I've had a lot of hip problems over the last year. And so, when you've ran for, I'm getting close to 10 years, right, without a break, what happens? Well, things start breaking down a little bit. You have to be a little bit more sensitive to things and not trying to push quite as hard, because guess what? there isn't a recovery day. There's no day off. So you got to get out and go. So the point about it is being grateful for the fact that, dude, I get to wake up every morning and run.
Yep.
And I'm still functioning. I'm still upright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
so,
funny because you don't think about that. Like that makes me, I mean, I do think about that. Like I get what you're saying, but if you can just do that when you pop up out of bed every morning and just straight up go, hey, listen, I woke up, here I am. You know, it was a rough, like the sleep thing you and I have both been dealing with is like, hey, I woke up this morning. I did get some sleep, not as much as I wanted, but guess what? I got the opportunity to wake up and try again tomorrow.
Yeah, it's that one where you feel like you've been hit over the head with a baseball bat, and you're like, how do you feel? And you're like, thank you. Yeah, I'm functioning. And so it's trying to get into the privilege mindset. It's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege, right?
I don't know why I went straight to the Animal House scene where the guy's getting hit with the paddle and he's like, yes, sir, may I have another? You know, it's
exactly.
Like, yeah, right. He's grateful he got the opportunity. Great conversation this morning, Robert. Thank you for taking the time to hang out. If you guys have gotten, thanks, Carl. We appreciate you being here, Nikki, everyone that is hanging out in the room. If you want to help the show, please subscribe on TikTok, on Facebook, on wherever the heck you're watching this YouTube. Write a review on Apple Podcasts. Any little thing helps. Share it, like it, love it. We appreciate you all. And if you haven't got Robert's book yet, go get it. Ours Victorious. You can get it on Amazon. Read through it. It's a great thing. We've been working through it. We're almost done with it. I think we have is Celebration the last chapter. We got one more to go.
Celebration. We're going to celebrate. Yes.
So we may or may not see you Monday, depending on what happens. But the goal is always to be here Monday and Wednesday.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Appreciate y'all. You guys have a great day.